Hey students, today we are going to be discussing exponents and powers. It's for assignment 1.2. I will be going over the bell work. I will be going over what goes in the journal, and then I will also be explaining the practice side of your assignment, and then I will give you a few hints for how to get the assignment done. So, if you do ever have any questions, you need to ask your teachers. All right, so here is your bell work for Tuesday. First of all, we are looking at, on these first two problems, we're looking at some multi-digit multiplication. So let's zoom in a little bit so we can be a little bit more precise. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the numbers and the ones. So I have 9 times 9, and that is 80. I'm going to change the color there. That is 81. Then I am going to go 9 times 5, which is 45. Then add 8, so 45, 53. So we're going to write 53. Now this is the part some students forget, is that because this is in the ones column right here, we are now going to go, this is a 7 in the tens column, and 7 times 9, that is 63. And because we're not dealing with solely the ones, we have to put a 0 right here. So we have 7 times 9, which is 63. So I'm going to show that that 6 is here, and the 3 here. And then we have 7 times 5, 35, plus 6, so that is 41. So we're going to go 41. Now we have to add. So we have 1, 6, 6, 4. Don't forget to put your comma in. So 4,661. Now, I would like you to try this one on your own. Let's go down to number 2. Order from least to greatest. So we have to find the number that is the least, and then we're going to go to the greatest. Now, I'm not going to do all of these for you, but I'm going to get you headed in the right direction. And I am going to start out by finding the smallest number. Well, if you say these numbers, it might help. This number right here is 4/10, 5/10, 45/100, and 4/100. Well, would you rather have 45/100 or 4/100? So 4/100 is the smallest. So I'm going to help you out there and say, okay, that is your first number that you're going to write down. Now, I would like you to write down the rest of those numbers. Okay, if we look at number 3, we're talking about some exponents here and different forms that we can have these written in. So we have the exponent form here. We have expanded form and we have standard form. So I'm going to do this first one for you, and then I would like you to do the second and third. So expanded form would be 2 times 2 times 2. And I know that that's how to do it because it says that there's 3 2's. So 2 times 2 times 2. Now, standard form is actually figuring out what 2 times 2 times 2 is. Well, the way that you look at that is go, okay, what's 2 times 2? 4 times 2. That's 8. So my answer is 8. All right. So I would like you to try that on your own for 4 to the second power and 3 to the second power. Okay. If you would please turn to page 33 in your journal. And this is the notes for 1.2. And it's titled Powers and Exponents. So the first thing that I want to go through is some vocabulary to make sure that you're kind of comfortable and familiar with what we're talking about today. So when we're looking at a number that is an exponent, there's 2 numbers. We have the big number, which we call the base, and we have the smaller number that's kind of up to the right, and we call it an exponent. And on your bell work, we just kind of started with that this is 3 to the 4th power, which essentially means that we have 4 multiplied 3 different times. We have 3 multiplied 4 times. So we have 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. Now, when we do that, we can go 3 times 3 is 9, 3 times 3 is 9, and get 81, because 9 times 9 is 81. Power or value means the answer. We can say 2 to the 2nd power as 2 to the 2nd power or 2 squared. So when we have 2 to the 2nd power like this, sometimes we call it squared. And we can say 2 to the 3rd power is 2 to the 3rd power or 2 cubed. So those are some different ones that you run into. Something to the 2nd power, we call it squared. And something to the 3rd power, we call it cubed.
Please, Chris Ewing.
All right, so we're moving on to this second part here. It says a perfect square is a number multiplied by itself. It has nothing to do with whether or not the number is odd or even. So I'm going to do a couple of these, and then I'm going to pause it, and I want you to do the other ones by yourself, and then we'll see if you got them correct. So on this first one, 1 squared or 1 to the 2nd power is 1 times 1. Well, that's 1. And then if let's skip over here to 6 to the 2nd power, that's 6 times 6, which is 36. And let's do 8 squared, which is 8 times 8, that's 64. And let's do 4 squared, which is 16, because 4 times 4 is 16. All right, the rest of them in this box, I'm going to have you pause the video right now and try these on your own. All right, let's see how you did. So those ones that are blue are the ones that I wanted you to do. Hopefully you were able to get those correct. Let's move on to this section right here that says x to the 6th power, which means x is multiplied by itself 6 times. This is also a different way that you can show a power. So if you were going to do it in some calculators, this is called the caret key, and it means the same thing. So 3 to the 4th power. So 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. So let's do a couple. I'll do one of these, or I'll do 2 of these, and then I'll have you do one on your own. So let's take a look at 4 to the 3rd power. So we're going to write it in expanded form. So 4 times 4 times 4, which is, well, what's 4 times 4? 16 times 4. Well, what's 16 times 4? 16 times 4 is 16 times 4, 64. Well, we better do the top up here. 2 to the 8th power. What's 2 times 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 2? Whew! Well, we know that 2 times 2 is 4, and if we did another one, it's 8. So for every 3 2s, we have 8. So I'm going to cross off those 3. That's 8. That 3 would be 8. And then we would have 2 2s left, which is 4. So 8 times 8 is 64, and then 64 times 4 is 256. So that one might take you a little bit to get those. Some of these take a little bit of time. So what I would like you to do is I would like you to try these on your own. So try those out and hit pause and see if you can get those correct. All right, so the ones that are in red, that hopefully you have the same thing on your paper as that I have. So we have 9 times 9, which is 81, and then this last one right here is 2 to the 4th power, so 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which is 16. All right, let's move down to the next part here. So one thing that I do want to go over before I start looking at all of these is sometimes you run into something to the 0 power. And this seems kind of weird, but anything to the 0 power is 1. So 2 to the 0 power, think about what it is. 1. So the rest of these we should be able to do. So I'm going to do a couple, and then we'll turn you loose on a few of your own. So let's do 2 to the 4th power. We already did 2 to the 4th power right here, so we know what that looks like. So we know that the answer to that one is 16. Okay? So let's do 5 to the 4th power, because, I'll get done with the 4th power ones for you. So we have 5 to the 4th power, which is 5 times 5 times 5 times 5, which is 25 times 25. So 25 times 25 is 625. All right, so I want you to do the rest in this box. So hit pause and try these on your own. All right, so you can kind of see a pattern here. That if we're going, and hopefully you got these correct, the blue ones here. So you can see that anything to the 0 power is 1. Then, we work our way up, and it's an exponential function. So any number with an exponent of 0 equals 1. Okay, so we're now looking at the practice for 1.1. It's a tan colored paper. So it wants us to do a couple of different things here. So I'm going to work through some of these, and again ask you to do some of these on your own. So the first one says 5 times 5 times 5, and it wants us to write it at the product as a power. So we have 5 to the 3rd power. Okay, so let's see if you can do number 2 and number 3 on your own. Okay, so hopefully you are able to get number 2 is 13 to the 2nd power, and number 3, 8 to the 6th power. So let's do a couple more. I'll do one more, and then I'll have you do 2 of them on your own. So to mix things up a little bit, I'll go over here and do number 6. So that's 17, and there's 3 of them, so I'm going to go 17 to the 3rd power. Now, I didn't point this out before, but I'm going to point it out now. These little dots right here, if you didn't already know, you should know, but if you didn't, these mean multiply. They're the same thing as these X's. So don't get fouled up on that. Those dots mean the same thing as multiply. So try number 4 and number 5 on your own. So hit pause. When you're done, hit play again. Okay, so hopefully that's what you have for those answers right there. So for number 4, you have 12 to the 5th power. Number 5, you have 10 to the 4th power. Now, look at number 7. It says find the value of the power. So we're going to actually find out what the value is. Well, sometimes it helps me to write it out in expanded form and then do the multiplication. So I'm going to demonstrate that right now, and I am going to actually do that with number 8. Well, no, I'm going to do number 7. So I'm going to go 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. And then I'm going to go, you know what? 4 times 4 is 16. And 4 times 4 is 16. So what is 16 times 16? Well, you might have to write that down and figure it out. 16 times 16 is 256. So that is my answer. So I'm going to write 256 and put a little box around it so I know. Okay, so I would like you to give number 8 and number 9 a try on your own. And then, so hit pause, try those. When you're done with them, hit play again. Okay, so you can see on number 8 that I did 9 times 9 times 9 right here, and then I did 9 times 9, 27 times 9, 243. On this one, I went 24 times 24, so I did 24 times 24. I did the double-digit multiplication, and I got 576. So let's take a look at number 10. 10 through 12. It says, determine whether the number is a perfect square. Okay, so what I'm trying to decide here is if a number times itself will equal one of these. Okay, is there any number times itself that equals 47? Well, let's see. I know my 5 times tables only go up to 45, and that's a little bit bigger. So if I did 6 times 6, I would get 36. That didn't work. And then 7 times 7 is 49. So that's bigger than it. So it didn't work. So there is no perfect square for that number. Now, let's see about 16. Well, I know that 3 times 3 is 9. And 4 times, oh, there, I think we got it. 4 times 4 is 16. So I know that this is a perfect square. So I'm going to say yes. Put a box around it. And then number 12, I would like you to try that one on your own and see if you can figure that one out. Did you figure out that 11 times 11 is 121? So a number times itself equals that. So it is a perfect square. So sometimes you just have to go through the numbers if you're not familiar with your multiplication tables so much. You could have looked at your multiplication chart, figured this one out too, to see, okay, a number times itself, what do I have? And then see if they line up and give you that answer. Okay, so let's take a look at number 13. Number 13, you complete 3 centimeters of a necklace in 1 hour, in an hour. Each hour after the first, you triple the length of the necklace. Write an expression using exponents for the length of the necklace after 3 hours. Okay, so sometimes it's helpful just to draw this out and then figure it out from there. So I'm going to just draw a line right here to kind of... Okay, for number 13, I would like you to try this one on your own. We'll discuss this one in class because I think it's a really good question to go over. All right, for your assignment today, this is what we're doing. This is kind of a fun assignment. It does a puzzle, so I really do like these, and we call them pizzazz worksheets, and they're a lot of fun. So let's take a look. I'm going to do one in each of the sections to kind of get you started, and then I'm going to have you do the rest. So it says right here, write using an exponent. So I'm right here, write using, we better read the instructions. Do each exercise and find the answer in the set of answers to its right. Write the letter of the exercise in the box containing the number the number of the answer. So let's just start right here. 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. And it wants us to write using an exponent. Well, that would be 3 to the 4th power. So I know that this is the right answer right here, right? So, and that, I'm going to use the highlighter instead so we can still see through it. So that says 10. Well, I'm going to come down to the bottom and I'm going to find 10, right? So I'm looking right here for 10. There it is. And looking back at the top, I could see that was that was for the letter H. So H is 10. So coming back down, I am going to write H is 10, like that. I know my H's look weird, but there you go. So that's how you do that. You're going to do that for each one of these problems. So let's take a look at exercise 2. So I'm looking right here, and it wants us to write the product. So we're figuring it out. We're writing it in standard form. So 4 to the 2nd power, I'm looking at E, is 4 times 4, which is 16. So I'm going to find 16 right here, and it was 2. So E is 2. So I'm going to come down here and find 2 and write an E in for 2. Okay, go to exercise 3, and it wants us to write as a power of 10. Now, we haven't talked a whole lot about this in this assignment, but let me explain. It's pretty simple. So if I want to write as a power of 10, I go, okay, well, how many zeros does this have? 3. So I know that this is 10 to the 3rd power. So I'm going to go over there. So that is 26. So that is, E is 26. So I'm going to come down to the bottom, and I am going to find 26 and write an E for 26. Okay, so this last one, it wants us to solve the equation. And we're basically just doing the operation here. And so I'll do the first one. It says G. 4 times 10 to the second power equals something. And we're trying to figure out what that something is. So I'm going to follow order of operations. I'm going to do exponents first. What is 10 times 10? 10 to the second power is 10 times 10. Well, it's 100. And then 100 times 4 is 400. So I'm going to mark 32. So G is 32, and I'm going to go G right there. All right, so I hope that gives you kind of a start to your assignment and how to do it. If you do have questions, please ask an advisor. You can ask your teacher, or you can come and see one of your teachers, or email us. Do whatever you need to get this to be successful. Guys, hopefully you are keeping up with your homework and doing what you need to be successful. We'll talk to you later.